Okay, so good morning. And if you're thinking about a career change, my invitation to you today is to stop waiting for the big leap. So, what do I mean by that? Well, I think that so many people feel that making a career change is like taking a giant leap into the unknown. But in reality, most successful career pivots or career changes don't start with a giant leap. They start with small moves, smart or otherwise, that build confidence, clarity, and credibility over time. So it's incremental. So I think it's like less like jumping off a cliff, unless you're pushed off that cliff. But it's more like, stepping stones across a river. So sometimes those stones are a bit slippy, and sometimes you get your feet wet. So crossing that's those stepping stones. It takes concentration and effort, and I think pivoting and career change is no different. And the other thing I often hear is like, I want to change direction, but I can't afford to throw away all my years of experience. I can't afford to throw it all away. And I think the truth is that you don't have to. For me, for example, there are so many ways that I use the skills and experience that I built in my television career, in my career now as a career and leadership coach. I still produce and direct, and now I present workshops and webinars, and I design and deliver courses that I've created and curated to a specific audience, very similar to program making, I think. And so I think it's more useful to think of the collection of skills that you take with you and just use in different ways. So it's not throwing it away, it's understanding how to use those things to solve problems for which you ideally get paid. So if you're thinking about change, here is just some suggestions. So number one is to start with exploration, not decision. So you don't need to know your next title yet. Start by noticing what catches your attention. Follow your curiosity for a month. Keep a list. Patterns will appear. Yeah? For me, it was like, I really found a calling to help other people become confident, because I saw too much talent going to the waste. And it was only when I started mentoring people that I really noticed that. So number two is to create a bridge, not a cliff. You don't want to just go like that. Don't quit before you're ready. I know that's easier said than done sometimes when you are either made redundant or the work dries up. But really, ideally, if possible, test your new idea in a low risk way, side hustle or something, so a short course, a side project, freelancing for a friend's company, volunteering, etc. Every experiment gives you data and confidence and stories, anecdotes, proof points, etc. for your next interview or your next pitch. So number three is to reframe the story in your head. You're not necessarily starting again. You're reusing experience in a new way. Every skill, mistake, achievement that you've had so far is raw material for what's next. Isn't it always the fact that we learn more from when things go wrong than when things go right? When our mettle is tested, that's when the skills come out. So number four is to get support, and you don't have to do it alone. And I am here. I am here in many different ways. So, but not just me. Find people who have made a pivot. Ask what worked, what didn't, and what they'd wished they'd known, earlier. So, the big leap most often isn't one big dramatic moment. It's a series of small, brave or not so brave steps that add up to the change, the transformation. So listen, in terms of support that I offer, I'm going to be doing a free workshop, and I'm going to be inviting other pivoters along, and we're going to be asking some of the big questions about pivoting or career change. So as a step one, you can come along to that. It's entirely free and you can register in the link. And I do courses on pivoting, and I have a framework, a fast track to fearless career pivot framework that I can share as well. So if you're interested in that, come along to the webinar or just DM me directly. Okay, so listen, courage doesn't come from certainty, does it? It comes from movement. Same thing with confidence. Confidence is a muscle. We don't use it. It wastes away. But it's only in stepping forward, trying things, showing courage, that we kind of exercise both the courage and confidence muscle. So I am here for you. Do come along, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Take care.